Chapter 4. One day was swallowed by the next, and then the next. The swaying, jogging wagon became a home for Julie and the little children. Its scraping, clattering noise was a wall closing out the fat man's shouts and the clanging of the torturing chains. Sometimes it was cold when the night came and the wagon stopped on a tall hill with black trees and silver stars and a biting wind that never stopped. The children clung to Julie, and she warmed them as best as she could in her thin, strong arms. When the day came with hot sun that baked the road into stifling dust, Julie cooled the children's mouths with water from the drinking gourd that the free black boy had given her. She always filled it now when the wagon stopped beside a stream and the fat man threw each of them a cold whole cake with a sop of grease on top. She used the gourd too for pouring water over the swollen, bleeding ankles of Lester, Adam, and Ben when the white men left them to fish along a riverbank. Julie seldom spoke. There was nothing to say, but she shared the others' silent fear and anger. Sometimes when the red-necked driver slept and the fat man strolled off to fish, Julie thought of jumping from the wagon and running into the woods. But if she did, who would care for the babies in the wagon? Who would pour water over the torn ankles of Lester, Adam, and Ben? She was the only one strong and free enough to help them. She was held to by Lester's sullen, glinting hatred and lifted head. His pride brought swish after swish of the fat man's whip across his back. The children cried, and the whip poised high above their heads with a threat. "You shut your little black mouths, or this whip comes down on you," the fat man cried. In response, Julie would sing, low and soft and deep, and the children listened and remembered their mammies and their cabins at Massa Henson's. Julie yearned for Mama Sally, and she sang the songs that she had heard Mammy sing. I am bound for the promised land. I am bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. Julie didn't know why, but somehow she drew strength from Lester's high-held head and angry eyes. When she woke up cold and frightened during the night on the rough floor of the wagon, she felt better knowing that Lester was close by. He helped her to remember the free black boy and the tall, gentle man who paid him for his work. Most of all, he helped her remember Canada. One day, the wagon slushed through a cypress swamp. The muddy water lay as quiet as a flat, smooth mirror. The trees rose out of it straight and tall, and their soft green needles strained the sun like spreading sieves. Flicks and specks of sunlight sparkled on the water. A heavenly sight, Julie thought, and held her breath with wonder. But the wet swamp mud sucked down the heavy chains and pulled at the legs of Sam and Adam. They fell, splashing and gasping into the water. Lester tugged at their arms, biting his lips against the pain in his own bruised legs. He pulled them out with the bulge of his great muscles. The fat man whipped slack through the water and onto the wet, muddy backs of the slaves. A sudden shower of rain splashed through the needle trees. The driver of the wagon hunched his shoulders up to the brim of his wide hat until it made an umbrella over him. The fat man urged his horse ahead of the wagon and huddled under a low branch tree. There was no protection for Julie and the children or for the struggling men trying to pull themselves from the sucking swamp mud. With the same sadness as the onset of the rain, Julie lost her fear. She had to help the men in the water. Maybe it was like Mammy Sally used to say, "The Lord has made you strong and tall for a good reason." She slid to the end of the wagon and began climbing over the side when she saw Lester standing still and staring at her. His head shook slightly, a warning for her not to come, but his face shifted from anger to a quick smile, and his eyes held hers with a look of pride and approval. Lester was proud of her. Drew Lily waded into the swamp and pulled up the mud-covered chain. Without its heavy weight, the men could lift their legs. The horse tugged at the wagon until it rolled out onto firm, dry ground, and Drew Lily returned to the little children. The rain stopped, and a gold sun poured a warm circle of light over all of them. Drew Lily began to sing. Jenny cracked corn, and I don't care. Jenny cracked corn, and I don't care. Jenny cracked corn, and I don't care. My massa's gone away. The children smiled and asked her to sing again.